Today, we're exploring the key ideas from 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do by Amy Morin. This is an independent educational overview, enriched with our own integrative analysis and actionable exercises. Think of it as a guided reflection to spark your own insights, not a replacement for reading the book itself. Mental strength is not an inherent gift bestowed upon a fortunate few, but rather a profoundly cultivated skill, an ongoing capacity to navigate the intricate landscape of our internal world and the external challenges it presents. It represents the ability to thoughtfully manage one's emotional responses, steer one's cognitive patterns, and sustain constructive behaviors even when circumstances are demanding or outright hostile. Far from being a rigid, unchangeable trait, this resilience is a dynamic attribute, influenced by personal history and disposition, yet ever responsive to deliberate development. At its core, mental strength arises from a deep understanding of the interwoven nature of thoughts, feelings, and actions. It's not about emotional suppression or stoic detachment, but rather a sophisticated form of self-regulation. The journey towards cultivating this strength is a three-pronged endeavor: consciously challenging and replacing unhelpful thought patterns with more realistic perspectives, choosing to act in alignment with one's values regardless of immediate discomfort, and mastering emotional responses to prevent them from unilaterally dictating decisions. The aim is to achieve a balanced equilibrium where rational thought and emotional intelligence converge to inform wise and purposeful action. Such an enduring psychological framework fosters adaptability, deepens life satisfaction, and significantly enhances an individual's capacity to perform under pressure, all through consistent and intentional practice. This commentary will explore the foundational principles and practical applications of this powerful internal architecture, offering a guide to building a life of authentic resilience. Third profound pitfall: cultivating internal sovereignty, mastering your inner landscape. The bedrock of mental strength lies in the unwavering commitment to one's internal sovereignty, the profound recognition that while external events may occur, the ultimate power to dictate one's emotional state, cognitive interpretation, and behavioral response resides squarely within. This profound self-governance requires an active rejection of any narrative that suggests one is a mere passenger in their own life, buffeted by circumstance or the whims of others. It means refusing to surrender personal agency, cultivating a robust inner compass that guides decisions, and diligently maintaining the boundaries of one's psychological terrain. A primary drain on this internal energy is the pervasive habit of self-pity. Imagine a painter who, upon a canvas not turning out as envisioned, spends days lamenting the injustice of the brush, the quality of the paint, or the unfairness of their muse, rather than simply picking up a new brush or trying a different technique. This internal narrative of victimhood, the persistent belief that one's struggles are uniquely harsh or that life has dealt an unfair hand, serves as a seductive but ultimately debilitating diversion. It offers a fleeting, artificial comfort, yet it simultaneously severs one's connection to reality and precludes any constructive action. Overcoming this involves a deliberate redirection of focus, engaging in proactive behaviors that counteract the sensation of misfortune, meticulously scrutinizing and reframing self-pitying thoughts, and cultivating an active daily practice of gratitude for what is present rather than dwelling on perceived deficiencies. Equally corrosive is the tendency to relinquish personal power to external forces. Consider a project manager who consistently allows a demanding client's unreasonable criticisms to spiral into self-doubt, leading them to constantly second-guess their expertise and feel obligated to work excessive hours out of guilt. This is a classic example of conceding control. When individuals permit others' opinions to define their worth or allow every perceived slight to trigger an angry outburst, they effectively hand over the reins of their emotional stability. Reclaiming this power necessitates establishing clear, non-negotiable personal boundaries, shifting from a passive "I have to" mentality to an assertive "I choose to," and discerning the true validity of feedback rather than internalizing every comment. It also involves the profound, liberating act of unconditional forgiveness, not necessarily for the other party, but to free oneself from the consuming grip of resentment. A related challenge is the futile obsession with things beyond one's control. Picture a gardener who dedicates all their energy to shouting at the clouds for more rain, rather than focusing on building an efficient irrigation system for their parched plants. This desperate urge to orchestrate every detail, often driven by an underlying anxiety, is an energy sink. While a healthy internal locus of control is empowering, an extreme version can lead to unwarranted self-blame and judgment of others. The antidote lies in identifying and acknowledging underlying fears, then rigorously refocusing energy onto what truly can be influenced: one's own responses, preparations, and attitudes. It also means learning to influence others through constructive dialogue and behavior adjustment, rather than attempting to manipulate or control their choices, and ultimately practicing acceptance for life's unalterable realities. The pursuit of universal approval is another pathway to squandered internal sovereignty. Imagine a playwright who constantly reworks their script based on every single piece of feedback from friends, family, and casual acquaintances, ultimately losing the original vision and producing a muddled, inauthentic piece. This relentless drive to please everyone leads to profound stress, the erosion of personal values, and a life lived by proxy. It stems from a fear of conflict or rejection, yet paradoxically, it often damages relationships by fostering inauthenticity. The remedy involves a clear articulation of personal values to serve as an internal decision-making rubric, the strategic pause before automatically assenting to requests, and the courageous practice of assertive communication to respectfully articulate needs and boundaries. Accepting that disagreement is an inevitable, even healthy part of human interaction is vital for maintaining one's authentic self. Furthermore, a significant impediment to internal peace is the tendency to dwell excessively on the past. Picture a ship's captain who, instead of navigating towards a new horizon, spends all their time staring into the wake, replaying every past storm, and wishing they could alter the currents already past. This fixation, often fueled by unresolved guilt, shame, or anger, prevents meaningful engagement with the present and proactive planning for the future. Such rumination, far from being productive self-reflection, merely intensifies negative emotions and compromises decision-making. To break this cycle, one must consciously allocate specific times for processing past events, actively redirecting thoughts towards present tasks or future goals, and extracting lessons learned rather than re-experiencing emotional distress. Forgiveness, both of self and others, becomes a crucial act of liberation, allowing one to author a future unburdened by past narratives. Finally, the insidious belief that the world owes one something is a profound detractor from internal strength. Envision a musician who, despite minimal practice, expects immediate acclaim and financial success simply because they deserve it, feeling wronged when opportunities don't materialize effortlessly. This entitlement mentality, whether born from an inflated sense of self-importance or a perceived past injustice, stifles genuine effort and makes one less likely to contribute meaningfully. It fosters bitterness, stifles empathy, and leads to unrealistic demands in relationships. Overcoming it requires a rigorous self-awareness, challenging any thought that suggests special treatment, and internalizing fundamental truths. Life isn't inherently fair. Everyone faces challenges, and personal agency involves choosing one's response to disappointment. Shifting focus from taking to giving and embracing a humble, team-oriented approach liberates immense energy and fosters genuine contentment, firmly rooting one's satisfaction in contribution rather than expectation. The journey of growth, embracing change, risk, and persistence. Mental strength is not merely about managing the internal landscape, but crucially about actively engaging with the external world as a dynamic space for growth and evolution. This involves a proactive stance towards challenge, a strategic embrace of the unknown, and an unwavering commitment to perseverance. It's about cultivating a mindset that views obstacles not as insurmountable barriers, but as integral steps on a longer, more meaningful journey. A pervasive obstacle to personal evolution is the tendency to shy away from change. Imagine a seasoned chef who, despite repeated feedback that their restaurant menu is outdated, refuses to introduce new dishes, fearing customer complaints or the temporary awkwardness of learning new recipes. This resistance, often fueled by anxiety, discomfort, or an emotional attachment to familiar, even detrimental routines, prevents individuals from moving towards better lives. Genuine change is rarely a grand, instantaneous transformation. Instead, it unfolds through distinct stages, from initial contemplation to active preparation and, critically, long-term maintenance. Overcoming this inertia demands a conscious analysis of the pros and cons of both changing and remaining stagnant, a diligent awareness of one's emotional responses, and a disciplined management of negative thoughts that undermine progress. A successful plan is built on setting clear, achievable goals, outlining specific daily actions, anticipating obstacles, and fostering accountability, all while embodying the person one aspires to become. Closely linked to the resistance to change is the fear of taking calculated risks. Consider a talented coder who dreams of launching their own tech startup but remains perpetually employed in a stable, unchallenging job, paralyzed by the specter of financial loss or professional failure. This apprehension, often driven by emotion rather than logic, can lead to a life of quiet dissatisfaction. Our inherent risk aversion often causes us to miscalculate probabilities, allowing irrational fears to overshadow potential rewards. Building mental strength here means learning to balance emotional apprehension with a systematic, logical assessment of any potential venture. This involves identifying all potential costs and benefits, aligning the risk with larger life goals, exploring a range of alternatives, envisioning both best and worst-case scenarios with clear mitigation strategies, and assessing the long-term impact. Like a comedian honing their craft by trying new jokes in small venues, one builds confidence and desensitizes fear by intentionally practicing smaller, manageable risks and learning from each outcome. Another significant barrier to progress is the habit of giving up after the first failure. Picture a novice baker who, after their first attempt at a complex cake collapses in the oven, abandons all culinary ambitions, convinced they lack any innate talent for baking. This reaction often stems from a fixed mindset, the belief that abilities are predetermined and unchangeable, or a profound fear of being perceived as incompetent. Yet failure is seldom an endpoint. More often, it is an indispensable mentor on the path to mastery. History is replete with examples of remarkable individuals whose early efforts were met with numerous rejections or setbacks. Overcoming this requires challenging the belief that failure signifies an inherent lack of ability, recognizing that deliberate practice and persistent effort, grit, are far more critical than innate talent. Cultivating self-compassion allows one to view shortcomings kindly, encouraging iterative learning and adjustment rather than a definitive retreat. Facing the fear of failure directly, learning from what went wrong, and then adapting one's approach is the engine of true progress. This leads directly to the importance of not making the same mistakes over and over again. Imagine a marketing executive who repeatedly launches campaigns with visually appealing but ultimately confusing messaging, then wonders why they consistently fail to resonate with the target audience. The cycle of repeating errors, whether behavioral, like chronic procrastination, or cognitive, like habitually making negative assumptions, often persists due to a lack of an alternative plan, fear of new consequences, or even a subtle comfort in familiar, albeit unhealthy patterns. Breaking this loop requires a rigorous, honest postmortem of past missteps, identifying precisely what went wrong, evaluating what could have been done differently, and formulating clear, actionable strategies to prevent recurrence. Developing a written plan with replacement behaviors, recognizing early warning signs, and building accountability through external support or self-monitoring are crucial. This process is reinforced by self-discipline, tolerating discomfort, employing positive self-talk, keeping long-term goals in sight, and imposing restrictions that make it harder to revert to old habits. Finally, the modern inclination to expect immediate results poses a significant threat to long-term mental strength. Think of a student who starts learning a new language expecting fluency within weeks, then abandons it in frustration when progress isn't instant. Our fast-paced world, saturated with narratives of overnight success, often fosters unrealistic expectations, leading to rapid abandonment of valuable endeavors when instant gratification isn't met. This impatience tempts individuals towards dangerous shortcuts, undermines long-term planning, and breeds a destructive cycle of disappointment. Cultivating resilience demands a commitment to the long haul, accepting that profound change is inherently difficult and rarely linear. It requires setting realistic expectations for progress, defining clear metrics for measuring incremental gains, and, most importantly, developing the capacity to delay gratification. This discipline, manifest in celebrating small milestones, anticipating temptations, and pacing oneself, is a powerful predictor of lasting success and deep personal fulfillment. Fostering meaningful connection, self-reflection, and relational integrity. Beyond the self-mastery of internal states and the proactive engagement with growth, mental strength finds its deepest expression in the cultivation of inner harmony and the integrity of one's relationships. This involves navigating the delicate balance between profound self-reflection and authentic, non-comparative connection with others. True mental fortitude allows individuals to stand secure in their own identity, capable of both deep solitude and genuine engagement, unburdened by external validation or the corrosive effects of comparison. A significant internal barrier to this harmony is the corrosive habit of resenting other people's success. Consider a musician who, instead of focusing on perfecting their own craft, spends countless hours scrolling social media, seething with bitterness over the rising popularity of a peer, secretly wishing for their downfall. This emotion, far beyond simple jealousy, is a destructive force that diverts mental energy, traps individuals in a relentless cycle of comparison, and can overshadow personal talents. It often stems from deep-seated insecurities, a perceived sense of injustice, or an unclear personal vision, making it easy to overlook the effort and sacrifice others invested. Overcoming resentment requires a clear, introspective definition of one's own unique measure of success, divorced from societal pressures or others' achievements. It means actively challenging comparative thought patterns, dismantling harmful stereotypes, and consciously choosing cooperation over competition. When one is secure in their own path and values, they can genuinely celebrate others' achievements, finding inspiration rather than diminution. In stark contrast to this outward comparison, the fear of alone time presents a challenge to internal harmony. Imagine a driven executive who, after a demanding workday, immediately fills every evening hour with social engagements, media consumption, or endless scrolling, unable to tolerate even a few quiet moments of personal reflection. This avoidance, often equating solitude with boredom or loneliness, prevents the mind from processing daily thoughts, leading to an overwhelming mental buzz and chronic stress. While constant engagement can be productive, neglecting dedicated time for introspection is detrimental to mental well-being. Embracing solitude not as isolation, but as an intentional connection with one's inner world is crucial. It fosters enhanced mental clarity, sparking creativity and problem-solving, and serves as a vital opportunity for emotional regulation and profound restoration. Practices like journaling, scheduling intentional self-dates, and cultivating mindfulness or meditation skills provide structured pathways to engage with solitude constructively, transforming it from a source of anxiety into a wellspring of personal strength and renewal. These practices are not luxuries, they are essential for self-renewal and personal growth, allowing individuals to return to their relationships and endeavors with greater clarity, empathy, and resilience. Ultimately, these two dimensions, the ability to celebrate others' wins without diminishing one's own, and the capacity to find peace and insight in one's own company, are profoundly intertwined. They speak to an internal security that doesn't need external validation to feel complete. A person strong enough to embrace solitude often possesses the clarity to define their own path, making them less susceptible to the comparisons that breed resentment. Conversely, someone who genuinely celebrates others' successes demonstrates a secure sense of self that is not threatened by external achievements. This integrated approach fosters not just individual well-being, but also richer, more authentic relationships and a deeper sense of belonging in the wider world, grounded in respect and mutual appreciation rather than envy or an incessant need for external approval. Integrative Analysis and Implications. The principles underlying mental strength, while presented as distinct don't tenets, are not isolated directives. Rather, they form a deeply interconnected ecosystem of psychological fortitude. Together, they articulate a comprehensive philosophy for living a life of agency, purpose, and profound resilience. The journey begins with internal sovereignty, demanding that individuals claim full ownership of their inner world. This involves meticulously curating thoughts, meticulously regulating emotions, and steadfastly rejecting external influences, whether the demands of others, the weight of the past, or the allure of victimhood, from dictating one's present reality. By mastering self-pity, refusing to surrender personal power, accepting what cannot be controlled, and valuing authenticity over universal approval, an individual lays the essential groundwork for unshakable self-possession. Building upon this foundation, the concept of growth through embracing challenge emerges as the dynamic engine of mental strength. It is not enough to merely protect one's internal space. One must also courageously engage with the external world as a constant arena for learning and evolution. This necessitates an active embrace of change, recognizing its inherent difficulty and planning for its stages. It requires a willingness to take calculated risks, understanding that vulnerability is often a prerequisite for significant achievement. Critically, it demands a tenacious commitment to learning from failure, rejecting the notion that setbacks are terminal and instead viewing them as invaluable feedback for iterative improvement. This patient, persistent approach, which resists the modern siren song of immediate gratification, cultivates a profound sense of self-efficacy and long-term accomplishment. Finally, the cultivation of meaningful connection, both with oneself and with others, represents the ultimate expression of this integrated strength. A mentally strong individual is secure enough in their own identity to find solace and insight in solitude, using quiet reflection to clarify purpose and restore energy. This inner peace, in turn, allows for genuine, non-comparative relationships with others. Free from the corrosive effects of resentment or the desperate need for external validation, they can celebrate the successes of peers, contribute authentically, and engage with the world from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. Ultimately, embodying mental strength transcends personal benefit, projecting a powerful ripple effect. By demonstrating resilience, integrity, and a balanced perspective, individuals become silent mentors, inspiring others to cultivate their own inner fortitude. It's about forging an unshakable inner certainty to navigate life's inevitable storms, not by avoiding them, but by meeting them with courage, resourcefulness, and a profound alignment with one's truest self. This journey empowers one to live authentically, courageously, and with a deep appreciation for one's inherent capabilities, moving through life not as a victim of circumstance, but as its conscious architect. Actionable exercises. 1. The gratitude action shift. When you catch yourself spiraling into self-pity or feeling unfairly treated, consciously interrupt the thought. Immediately identify 3 specific things you are genuinely grateful for in that moment, no matter how small, e.g., warm coffee, comfortable chair, a moment of quiet. Then, without delay, perform one small constructive action that counters the feeling of helplessness. This could be helping a colleague, sending an encouraging text to a friend, or even tidying a small area of your desk. The goal is to redirect emotional energy from passive lament to active contribution, reinforcing agency and shifting perspective. Chapter 2: The Choose to Reframe. Over the next week, pay close attention to instances where you use the phrase, "I have to," in relation to obligations or requests. Each time, pause and consciously reframe the statement to, "I choose to," followed by a brief, honest reason. Example, "I choose to attend this meeting because my input is valued," or "I choose to clean the house because I value a calm environment." If you cannot find a genuine choose to reason, consider if this is an area where you are giving away your power or failing to set boundaries. This exercise strengthens your sense of agency and helps you identify where you might need to assert yourself more. 3. The calculated risk blueprint. Think about a small, non-catastrophic risk you've been avoiding, e.g., asking for feedback on a new idea, trying a new workout class, initiating a difficult conversation. Dedicate 15 minutes to creating a calculated risk blueprint. On paper, list 1. The potential best-case scenario and its benefits. 2. The potential worst-case scenario and its immediate impact. 3. 2 specific actions you could take to mitigate the worst-case scenario. 4. How this decision might matter or not matter in 5 years. This structured approach helps detach emotional fear from rational assessment, making the risk feel more manageable. 4. The progress, not perfection log. Choose one habit or skill you are trying to develop. Example, meditating for 10 minutes daily, learning a new software, exercising. For the next 2 weeks, keep a daily progress, not perfection log. Instead of only tracking whether you achieved your goal perfectly, also note any effort, even small, or any learning from a missed day. For instance, if you only meditated for 2 minutes, write 2 minutes, felt a little calmer. If you skipped, write skipped, but reflected on why and planned for tomorrow. This shifts focus from rigid outcomes to consistent effort and resilience, fostering patience with the non-linear nature of growth. 5. Solo Clarity Walk. Schedule 30 to 45 minutes this week for a solo clarity walk in a natural or quiet urban environment, leaving your phone on silent and in your pocket or at home. The intention is not to listen to music or podcasts, but to simply walk, observe your surroundings, and allow your thoughts to drift. Notice any recurring thoughts or feelings without judgment. Upon returning, spend 5 minutes jotting down any insights, ideas, or unresolved issues that surfaced. This practice leverages solitude to enhance mental clarity, creativity, and emotional processing, fostering a healthier relationship with alone time. 6. Values-first decision-making. For a full day, make every minor decision, e.g., what to eat, how to spend free time, how to respond to an email, by first asking yourself, which of my core values does this decision uphold or contradict? For example, if you value health, choosing a salad aligns. If you value connection, replying thoughtfully to a friend aligns. If you find yourself making choices that consistently contradict your values, reflect on why. This exercise sharpens your awareness of your internal compass, strengthening your commitment to an authentic life driven by what truly matters to you, rather than external pressures or instant gratification. That wraps up our exploration of today's book. If even one idea here gave you something to reflect on, give it a like so YouTube knows to share more with you. And if you'd like the next insight in your feed, hit subscribe. Remember, what you heard today is our independent interpretation, enriched with analysis and exercises. The full book has far more depth, so consider reading it to experience the author's work directly. Thanks for listening to DeftU Insights, where we turn great books into tools for growth.